so don't say anything controversial.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
perfect. All right. Okay, we're gonna get started. I know that tonight they have the preschool service project, so we lost a few people because all of their kids have to be there with an adult. So we are going to keep recording this. We have a recording from last week, so if you're new with us, you can watch that. I am a little nervous to watch that back. Like I said last week, I am not a public speaker. I have notes here because I will go off on so many tangents if I don't. So I'm going to read my notes a little bit, but I also want to make sure that we have time for discussion and that you guys chime in. If you have things that you want to add, if there are concepts I'm talking about that don't feel like they're computing because I'm not making sense, or you've never heard that term before, please stop me and let me know. I have a bit of a head cold, so my brain is like not firing 1,000% tonight, but we're gonna struggle through it a little bit. So I first want to review last week just a little bit. I don't want to review it all because we talked about so many super nerdy, wonderful pieces of research of child development and brain science. Again, if you want to watch that, you sure can on the recording. But we really talked about brain science and the importance of play when it comes to building and strengthening neural pathways. So I'm going to quiz you a little bit. If you were here last week, do you remember the statistic I gave out of the difference between how many repetitions it takes to learn something when you learn it through play versus when you learn it through a forced and formal academic? Does anyone remember that statistic? 400 I heard. 400 for which one? 400 for academic, like the forced and formal. How many for play? 10 to 20, yeah. So that sticky learning where those neural pathways are really strengthened and solidified happens best through play, especially for young children. Now, obviously, as kids get older, that shifts a little bit. The brain is 90% developed by age 5, and so a lot of those structures are already there by age 5, and then past then, you're really building on that. So you kind of create that scaffolding, and then you build upon it. And so we really want to make sure that during those early years, we're building really healthy habits. That doesn't mean that you can't undo what's been done. By the time you have your second or third kid, you're like, ooh, that poor first child who had a really young, naive version of me. You can kind of erase some things a little bit. Second, we talked about play as the most developmentally appropriate way for children to learn in early years. But we talked a lot about, too, how it's really important for kids to learn or to establish secure attachments with the adults in their lives through that playful learning. So I think it's a really great opportunity to establish where boundaries are, where problem solving needs to happen, where kids are going to get that loving, great attention, where maybe you're going to go, stop, don't go any further, that's too far. Play is a really nice way for us to build those foundations. And then we ended talking about child-directed interaction, that special time, play time between you and your child. And we're going to talk more about that tonight because we did a really brief overview. We watched a quick 1-minute video of a mom doing that CDI time with her kid. But we're going to talk more about what that actually looks like because the video gave a nice little glimpse. I gave a little bit of overview of the science behind it, but I want you to leave here tonight feeling like if you sat down with your kid, you could do it a little bit. For families who actually go through this training, it is weeks long. We work with them, we code their score on how many times they used a question versus a praise. We really get really into it. But this isn't just a therapeutic approach. This is a parenting strategy you can use too. So let's see if I missed anything. Okay, you guys kind of with me? Sweet. Okay, so tonight, we are going to dig into the ins and outs of CDI skills. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of CDI. And my biggest question of the night, you guys, is where the heck does the apostrophe go on don'ts? Do I need a second one? No. Like, okay, because do's has one right here. Do I need another? Like, I sat there at my computer last night for like an hour being like, do I need a second apostrophe? So hopefully you can see past that. I had a hard time. Am I good? Is that right? Okay, Roy said so. I'm good. I should have just called you last night because I sat there and I was like, I don't know. I think I need a second apostrophe. After we dig into CDI, we will shift gears and we'll talk about challenging behaviors, which is my favorite thing to talk about. We'll talk about some proactive behavior management strategies and some reactive strategies. So proactive is before it happens, you plan a little bit, you teach a little bit, you practice. And then after the behavior is already happening, what you can do to bring it back down, to manage that behavior, and to attempt to have it not happen as much in the future. And then we will wrap up with some discussion questions. And I took your great comments from last week, and I have some of them incorporated into tonight's conversation. But if you have things tonight that you are thinking about where you're like, oh my gosh, this behavior is like really upsetting our whole household, the whole vibe in it, like what can we do? I'm happy to try and problem solve. It's gonna cost you like $300 an hour though, so it's gotta be, no, I'm kidding. I can give you some general strategies there. Okay, so CDI, if you'll remember, CDI is when your child is leading the play. So this is 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes 5 minutes feels painfully long if you are sitting there and your child is leading the play. I tried this with Solveig the other night. I was like, you know what, if I'm telling them they should do it, I should try it. And we played Bluey on the floor in her bedroom for like 5 minutes. And the pitch of her voice was just high enough, and like the things she was having me would do, I was like, oh gosh, this is hard. So CDI is not easy. It's not intuitive for me. I grew up in a household that was like, do this, do that, don't do that, don't do that. There wasn't a lot of time where I got to just play with my parent. Actually, I don't remember an actual time. Don't listen to this, Mom, if you're watching later. I don't remember a time where I actually like had a parent sit on the floor and play with me. I had 7 siblings, so that helped. But I want to really dig into like how you can do this, and these are the do's and the don'ts of CDI. So the things that are listed in the don't category are things that you typically would not want to do if your child is leading a play situation with you, right? If your child is in charge of the ideas, the creativity, you generally don't want to be criticizing them. You probably don't want to be asking them too many questions, although this one is like so hard for me. And you don't want to command them to do anything, right? You want them to be leading, you want them to have the ideas. And like we talked about last week, that really, really helps secure that creative, innovative thinking that happens through play, which starts sending those neural pathways off different directions. When we start making commands, we're no longer giving them power to drive the play, right? Similarly, when we start questioning their play, it can place unnecessary demands on them. And then when we criticize our children, it just doesn't quite get to what our whole point of this is. It does quite the opposite. So rather than building a strong and secure attachment, it demeans them, it shows them that we can't be trusted with their vulnerability, and it shows them that we actually don't want them to lead the play when we criticize them, command, or question during this time. So say I'm playing with my child, and we're playing, a command might look like this. So say Solveig's got her little Bluey toy, and I say, oh, put Bluey up there. Oh, now take Bluey down. Okay, Bluey's gonna go in the car. So I'm no longer letting her lead, I'm leading it. Again, this is really hard. I like to control things. This is really hard for me. Criticizing would look like, that's not a good idea. Let's try something else. So it doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I think you're stupid, right? Like, it can be, that's not a great idea. Or, I don't want to play that, right? That can be kind of a critique of what they want to do. questioning is the absolute hardest for me because I want to know why they want to do it. I want to know what they're going to do next. And so questioning would be like, oh, why do you want Bluey to go there? Oh, I wonder. Oh, see, I'm already starting to switch it. I wonder statements is how I switch it at work. So instead of asking a question, you can say, I wonder, right? So rather than saying, why does Bluey want to go there? I might say, I wonder what Bluey's doing up there. Or I wonder what Bluey's going to do next, right? So you can shift it too so it's not as demanding. Okay, the do's of CDI are on the right. We call them pride skills because it spells out pride if you go down the list of the first letter. So praise, reflect, imitate, describe, and enjoy. So I'm going to go through each one of these, and I'm going to give you some examples of what each one means. Again, a lot of this will really make more sense if you saw the video last week, so I'm sorry for those of you who didn't, but it'll make more sense. So for praise, praise is when we are providing labeled positive verbal reinforcement to our kids. So labeled is when you tell the kids exactly what they are doing. When you label their behavior and praise it, they are more likely to do that specific thing again. When we just say good job on repeat, it's not telling them what's a good job. What did we like about what you did? So while you're playing with your child, a labeled praise might look like, I love that you shared that toy with me. That made me really happy. Or it made me feel really included. Or I say this constantly at work. Wow, your body's so safe with your feet on the ground. Wow, thank you for keeping your body safe. It sounds a little bit awkward, but the more you do it, the more natural it kind of becomes. And again, the more labeled you can be, the more you're telling your child, I'm paying attention, you're doing this great thing, I want to see more of this specific great thing. That makes sense? Labeled versus unlabeled praise? All right, cool. The next one is reflect. This one also feels a little bit awkward, but it shows your kid that you're listening and invested in what they have to say. So if you're playing on the floor with your child and they say, this crayon is blue, you might say, that crayon is blue. So you're affirming something that they're telling you. They found it important to tell you that they know that that crayon is blue, and you're reflecting back, yes, I heard you, that is blue, you're right. Again, it feels a little kind of clunky if you're not used to this, but the more you do it and you see your kid light up like, yeah, that was blue. I got that crayon right. It's pretty exciting to watch. Imitate is when you are going to play with the toys your child is playing with, and you're going to follow along if they change things up. So I have a video of Solveig and I playing, but I couldn't figure out how to put it on here. But Solveig took Bluey, she took a little blow dryer that Bluey has, and she starts blow drying Bluey's fur because Bluey just got out of the bath. And so I took Bingo. If you're not familiar with Bluey, you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. They're both dogs. I took Bingo and I took a hairbrush and a blow dryer, and I did the same thing that she did. So she's going with the blow dryer, and I'm making the same sound effects going, whoa, yeah, I've got a blow dryer too. So you're showing your child that I'm invested in what you're doing, I'm interested, and I'm paying attention. And that's such a good idea that I'm gonna do it too. When you reflect and imitate, it also kind of props a mirror up for your child to see their own behavior in action. So it's not just I'm putting this out there, but now I get to see back what that looks like for other people. And I think that's really powerful. The next one is describe. This one is essentially you are sportscasting their play. Now for really little kids, this one can, you can kind of do a lot of this, but can you imagine like doing this to an 8-year-old? They're gonna be so annoyed with you if you're sportscasting their play and you're like, ooh, you hit the ball, now you ran after the ball, now you bring the ball back, now you hit the ball again. Like my kids would roll their eyes at me. But if this is a little preschooler or a toddler who maybe is early in their language development, you're gonna provide the words for them of what they're doing. So this might look like, so I was in preschool this morning and this little kid comes up and he hands me a magnetile, and I said, you handed me the magnetile. And then he puts one down and I said, ooh, you're putting one on the ground. Now you're sticking another one to it. Ooh, it's getting taller. oh, that one fell over. So I'm providing like a constant narration of what's happening. Again, older kids might be a little peeved with this, but this is great for that young preschool, toddler age where they're really starting to develop language skills. And then the last is just enjoy. Show that you're happy to play with your child. Use a playful tone, laugh, physical affection, and statements indicating your enjoyment. I really like playing with you. You have such good ideas. This is so fun. And I think that all of these things put together, when you spend 5 minutes doing this, like you leave with your bucket filled and they leave with their bucket filled because you just invested 5 undistracted minutes with them, which again feels like a long time, but how many times do we actually spend 5 minutes completely undistracted with our kids? I don't. I mean, I'm constantly have like a phone pinging or like dinner's boiling over or the dog barks at something. Like it really is hard to do this for 5 minutes. So questions on this? I know it's like a lot all at once. Okay. Now I have a question for myself. But Margaret, what do I do when I'm doing this and my kid starts engaging in inappropriate behaviors? What do I do when I'm playing with my kid and they throw something at me? Or they knock my tower over? Or they say something mean to me? We saw in the video last week, what did that mom do when her kid said like something about your ideas are stupid or said something, yours looks like crap, he said, I think, to her. What did she do? She ignored it. Ignoring is like going to be the bread and butter of a lot of these garbage behaviors that I call them. Those annoying things, those little things where they're like trying to see how far they can push you. Ignore it. Ignore it. Limit your responses for those kinds of things. And then the second the positive behaviors come back, you jump back into the play with positive remarks, saying what you liked about what they did. So if I'm building and one of my kids goes, oh, yours is stupid, I'm just going to keep going. And the second he says something nice, I'm going to say, well, that was really nice of you to compliment mine, right? I am not reinforcing this at all. This garbage behavior, I'm not going to show you that it means anything to me. But this one, like, I want that to happen more, so I'm going to say something about it. Let me see what else I have. Okay, this is a caveat for that, though. If the behavior is destructive or dangerous, I don't want you to ignore it. Don't want you to stand there while your kid's, like, getting the knives out of the drawers because he wants to play kitchen or something, right? If your child is engaging in destructive or dangerous behaviors during this special time, so this is, the caveat too is this is during CDI, this is during that special time you planned, you can end your playtime. You can say, playtime is over, you're not being safe. So you can tell them, this special time does not happen if you're going to be dangerous. And then you remove your attention from them. Obviously, make sure they're safe. But does that make sense? That like this is within the confines of CDI. This isn't like during normal time. We'll talk about that too. So during CDI, if it's dangerous or destructive, you say playtime is over. I'm not going to play with you if you're going to be unsafe. That will probably escalate things though, and we will talk about that later, what to do if that happens. All right, any questions on CDI? Would it be helpful to find that video to watch again? Now that you know what to look for, the pride, like now that you know the pride things to look for, people from last week, would it be helpful? Yeah? Okay, let me see though. I'm gonna search it on here first. Well, actually, no, I can't. Hold on. Hold on. Look at how high tech we are here. I just think this mom does a really nice job in her videos. Okay, I'll pull this back over. I think she just does a really nice job of modeling all these things. So while you're watching this, be thinking, how is she praising? How is she reflecting, imitating, describing, and enjoying? the play with her kid. I can't turn that up. See that ignoring she does? Okay. So does that make sense now that you've seen it twice, once before you got those pride skills and now after? Were you able to see some of them at play in there? Okay. Which one felt like, if you were to try this, which one do you think would feel the hardest for you to do?
Correcting them when they said crap?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the way she ignored him was like gold medal. And then he said it again. Did you hear me? I said crap. It's like waiting for her. He knows how to bait her. What do you think he was looking for from her when he said that?
Some kind of reaction.
A reaction.
Any reaction.
Yep. Yep. And did you notice how when she then praised him for saying something nice, he went up and hugged her? Like, he was clearly looking for some sort of reaction or connection, and she showed him, when you do it this way, this is going to be a much more appropriate way for you to get my attention, for you to get a positive, secure reaction out of me. But when you say my tower looks like crap, I'm not going to pay attention to that. Like, I'm not here for that. Anybody else? What would be hard for you? You guys are going to go rocket. I know it. Okay. The describing kind of feels clunky.
A little bit, and my kids like to talk the whole time, and it's like I feel like I'm talking over them.
Yep. And I think since you have some older kids too, I think you can turn the dial down on describe and maybe turn the dial up on reflect, right? Like, you don't have to sportscast as much, but maybe you could reflect back to them like, oh yeah, you're right, that is right? Oh, that is a great idea. And the describing might go down a little bit because your kids are very verbal and they're older and they are a little farther along developmentally. So yeah, that describe one's a little awkward, especially if your kid's really verbal. Good. Anything else? Okay, you guys ready to get into behavior? I love it. I'm so excited. Okay. So I know this is kind of small. Like I said last week, I looked for I was like searching stock photos of people playing together, and they all looked so happy, and it was so sweet, and like they're on their bellies playing together, and that is not what it looks like usually. Usually it's messy. The video I took of Solveig and I playing, there's like a go-gurt on the floor, and she's in mismatched pajamas, and I've got like a greasy bun up. It does not look well lit like this. So I just want you to know that. I'm very aware that that is not real. So as we talk about behavior, I want to say first that I think when we say the word behavior, I think we mostly start thinking about interfering or challenging or inappropriate things our kids do, right? Like when I hear behavior, I'm like, ooh, tantrum, ooh, refusal, ooh, screaming. But I challenge you tonight to shift your thinking from only thinking about bad behaviors your child does and start thinking about and noticing also the positive behaviors that you see and the things you want to see more of. I have on your reminder sheet, your parenting reminder sheet, behavior goes where reinforcement flows. Essentially, the behaviors you want to see more of, you have to reinforce them. So think about those positive behaviors that you want to see more of. You want to see more manners? You better act like it's your kid's birthday every time they say thank you for the first week, right? Like they say thank you for a cookie. Oh my gosh, look at those great manners. Wow. Right? That's how you're going to see more of those positive behaviors. If they are not getting reinforced for positive behaviors, why use them? If they are only getting our attention when they scream at us or they're rude or they push people, that's where the behavior is going to go. So what we're going to talk about are some proactive strategies to increase positive behaviors and kind of decrease those negative ones. And then we're going to talk about reactive ones for when those negative ones are in full tilt. Okay. I posed another question to myself in my notes, but I don't need to. I don't need to go there. Sorry, I can't find my mouse. There we go. Okay, so what I have experienced a lot at home, at work, as a preschool teacher, is sitting and wondering why kids act the way they do, why they scream, why they throw things, why they, you name it, right? I'm sure you can fill in the blank with your own behaviors your kids have. And the more and more I got into behavior analytics, the more it just clicked for me that behavior is being reinforced by something, and if I can analyze the behavior and I can figure out what the behavior is trying to get, I can solve it, right? I can replace that behavior with something appropriate and reinforce that. And then this will go away. It sounds simple in my head because I've said this over and over again, but I'm going to explain it deeply for you guys. So let me see where I'm at here. Sorry, I lost my train. Okay. So I have some things, I have some strategies up here, ways you can get ahead of interfering behaviors like screaming, tantrums, throwing things at siblings, sibling rivalries, yelling at you, telling you you're not doing it fast enough, unbuckling while you're driving, throwing things at you while you're driving, all of those fun things. The first that I have up here is that I want you to think about some reasonable expectations for your child. Start small. I really think that we get in the mindset of expecting too much from our kids too soon, and we set them up to fail without giving them the scaffold or the stepping stones to get there in the first place. When we have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old and they are hitting a friend because their friend took their toy, and we respond with, "You know better." No, they don't. You have to show them. You have to teach them. You have to have appropriate expectations for them. Now, if my 8-year-old goes up and hits somebody because a friend took a toy, I might in my head think, "You do know better." Like, we've actually talked about this a lot. But I want you to think about a reasonable expectation. So maybe you have a behavior in your mind where you're challenged by it. Think of a reasonable expectation for your kid. Is that reasonable for their age? Is that reasonable for their development? Sometimes we have to lower our expectations a little bit, and I think that's okay. One of our proactive behavior management strategies is the CDI stuff we just talked about. It's a great time to practice skills, to identify problem areas. If you are doing CDI special time and your child really is having a hard time sharing with you, being kind in their words, problem solving, coping, managing their emotions, that's a great time to catalog that and be thinking about ways you can work through that in play, but also ways you can handle it or appropriate replacement behaviors for it. Another strategy I have, and this one is my favorite and I think it works for all ages, is called priming. So when you are about to start your lawnmower and you press that little primey button, right? It gives a little, what does it do? I don't know, it gives oil to the, who knows what it does? I don't know, but it gets your engine ready to go, right? I think it gives it oil. I don't know, I'm looking at you, Paul, like you know. So priming is my favorite strategy. And priming essentially is practicing before the skill needs to be happening. So for us, this is one that we do every single time we're about to go into Walmart. Because I know that my kids are going to see things and their eyes are going to get really big and they're going to ask me, can we have that? And some of the things I might be able to say yes to, but 90% of them I'm going to have to say no. And if I'm by myself with 3 kids, I cannot take a meltdown in the middle of an aisle. I mean, I might have to, but I don't want to. And so what I'm gonna do, and what the Skogmos do every time we park in the Walmart parking lot, the kids like get ready because they know what's coming. And I'll go, okay guys, when we go in there and you ask me for something and I say no, what are you gonna say? And they all go, okay. And I go, yeah, you're gonna say okay. And we started this when they were really little. Okay, and I'd get really specific. Solveig, you're gonna see Elsa on the shelf and you're gonna bring her to me and you're gonna say, Mommy, can I have this? And I'm gonna say, not right now. And you're gonna say, what? And I'm gonna make her say, I'm gonna say, okay. And then I might give her a fun alternative that is still me saying no and her saying okay. And I might say, but you know what, Solveig, if you really want it sometime, maybe later, I can take a picture of you with it. And she'll go, oh, okay. And we have a whole album on my phone of Solveig and Walmart with all of these toys that she's always wanted. And she's gotten like one of them. But she forgets, right? They leave and they forget that they ever wanted that thing. So priming is a great way for them to practice the skill before it's high stakes and before it's high stakes for you. Because once you're in that moment and you start sweating, you are reacting and you're no longer able to kind of follow through with that. This doesn't always work, but it is a great way to practice the skill. From the sheets that I got last week, I had a parent say that their child really struggles with transitioning into the preschool room, that they cry every time they drop them off. This is a great time for you to prime your kid. So maybe on the weekend, you practice going to school and you make it really fun and playful and you say, all right, we're gonna get your backpack on. We're gonna pretend we're going to school. So I'm gonna be in the other room and you're gonna walk in and you're gonna say, bye, Mom. And you're gonna walk in with a big smile on your face, ready to go. And you're gonna play it out, you're gonna practice it, you're gonna show them this is how you do it. And then you support them through it, and when they do it right, you have to praise them over the top, right? When my kids walk out of Walmart and I did not buy anything extra, not on my list, we like party in the car and we go, we did it! You guys accepted my no, this is so amazing. So does that strategy make sense? It is like the easiest way that you can set yourself up to succeed before a behavior is happening. And I'm gonna study lawnmowers, so I figure out what that little primey button does. I don't have modeling up here, but the other strategy that you need to be using constantly with your kids is modeling for them what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. The old phrase of like, do as I say, not as I do, they're gonna do what you do. They're not gonna do what you say. So if you are using kind words, if you are modeling appropriate coping skills when you're frustrated, those are things that they start watching from a young age. And those are skills that they're going to start using. So if you see your child use a skill for the first time, like they take a really deep breath when they're upset, please label and praise the heck out of that because you want to see more of that. And make sure that you are modeling it in a labeled way too. So if you have a super chaotic part of your day and you're starting to get overwhelmed, label that. I'm getting really overwhelmed right now. It's loud in here. You are all talking to me at the same time. I'm going to listen to one of you at a time, but first I'm going to take a deep breath to calm down. And you're going to model what that looks like and maybe even describe, like use that description of how it feels. Okay, I took a deep breath. I feel a little bit better. Okay, you talk to me first so I don't get overwhelmed again. I want to hear what you have to say. It's okay to be kind of over the top in describing what you're modeling for them. Now, when you're really frustrated, this is not easy to do, and going to your room is probably a better choice. Because when we are dysregulated, it's really hard to show our kids how to get back into regulation. So those are my proactive strategies. They're kind of basic, simple, but that's kind of the point. Any questions on that? Okay. Thanks for bearing with me as my brain like slowly melts. Okay, so I have reactive behavior management strategies. So this is the behavior is already happening and you have to do something about it. We talked about ignoring, but if you can't ignore a whole lot, then what, right? What if they are getting the sharp thing? What if they are hitting their sibling? I don't want you ignoring that. If they have their sibling in like a chokehold, don't go, I'm gonna wait till you're being nice. And then you like turn away from them. Please don't do that. But these are some really nice reactive strategies for when you want to either reinforce something good that they're doing or provide an alternative that you want to see more of. Carrie brought up something great last week, which I want to highlight, and I think this is super important. But if your child is in a full-blown behavior, so they are dysregulated, they are screaming, crying, throwing things, they have enormous amounts of cortisol coursing through their body, the stress hormone. And imagine you are in a high-stakes, overwhelming, I am falling apart moment, and someone goes, take a deep breath, relax, sit, come here, you try, do this. You are gonna be like, don't talk to me, I cannot manage it. So one thing that is very important is that if your child is so dysregulated that they are screaming and crying and falling on the floor, you have to wait till that comes down. Sometimes this takes 20 to 30 minutes for your kids' cortisol levels to even out, for all of those fight or flight hormones to go away. Don't try and teach a new behavior while they're like punching you. It doesn't work. So those are great times for you to be calm and steady and take a deep breath and just say, I'm here for you. When you are calm, we're gonna talk about this. And then you stop talking. We call it the wait strategy, which stands for why am I talking? Shut up. Stop talking to them. Be calm, be steady, be there for them, but that's it. Don't tell them all the things they're doing that are naughty. For our house, this is what happens. We goes like this. I even wrote a scenario down because I can like hear it in my head, right? Someone slams a door, and I go, if you slam that door one more time, then you lose screens for the whole week. Well, what happens? Door slam. All right, now your toys are gone forever. I'm taking all the toys, I'm putting them in a trash bag, they're going in the car, and we're donating them to the church, right? Like, I'm so dysregulated, they're dysregulated, I'm not gonna follow through on any of my consequences, because I have cortisol going through my body, and I'm gonna show them who's boss, and they're gonna show me who's boss by slamming the doors harder, hitting the walls harder, throwing things at me, or whatever. So in those moments, when you see that cortisol go up for your kids, I want you to stop, do the wait strategy, so be quiet, and regulate yourself, and give them time and space to regulate. And then you can go in and say, hey, you're really upset. I see that you're really upset. I'm here for you while you calm down. If you need help calming down, let me know. And then you wait. Does this ever happen to anyone or just my house? Like, who's taken all the toys away forever at their house? Yeah. Once Joe said it, and I was like, well, you better go pack up the car. You threatened it. And he was like, well, I will. And he's loading them up. I was like, what are you trying to prove? Yeah, it's so easy to get amped up with each other, right? To start sparring, right? You're the worst mom in the world. Yeah, well, why don't you go live on the streets then, right? Like, one time Holden ran away. He took his Vikings poster and he was like, I'm running away. Okay, fine. And he goes outside. It's so hard when you are getting amped up to calm it back down. So remember the wait strategy. Why am I talking? Take a deep breath. That's a great reactive strategy. I should just stop there because that's like probably the best one. On those sheets from last week, you guys brought up some really great behaviors. Sibling fights, control, defiance, arguing. These are super typical, right? Every parent experiences this. You are not alone. Your kid is not a bad kid. Everybody here has experienced those things, right? Like, okay. So I want, when those behaviors are happening, the ones that really, really challenge you, I want you to put your analytic hat on. Maybe not in the behavior, but after it's happened or when you're thinking about it. Put your analytic hat on and think about what the behavior looks like, when does it happen, and why do you think it's happening? What do you think your child is trying to tell you? What do they want from you? In the behavior world, we call this a functional analysis. We experiment and we go, ooh, what's the function? What are they trying to get from this? Where's the reinforcement coming from? Is it attention? Is it escape from demand? Is it that they really want that iPad and they're not getting it, so they're going to turn a behavior on, and when I give them the iPad, the behavior goes off? So I want you to be thinking that way if you have a challenging behavior. What might be reinforcing this? The door slams at our house, what's reinforcing that, do you think? Mom yelling, don't slam the door anymore, right? That is absolutely reinforcing it. They want my attention, and boy, do they get it when a door slams in the house. And I sound like my mom, like, don't slam doors in my house. So I want you to think about that. What is your child trying to get with this challenging behavior? Once you figure that out, it's magic, because then you can think of the replacement. So be thinking about a behavior in your head right now. Think about what they're trying to get, maybe what you're doing that's reinforcing it, or what their siblings doing that reinforces it. And once you have that, you can start incorporating a replacement behavior to teach. So that might look like this. I know I've used slamming doors, so I'm going to use a different one. Okay, so say that you are working on, say you're reading with your child at bedtime. And reading is so dumb, I don't want to do this. I'm going to start messing around with the pages. I'm going to fold the pages. Maybe I'm going to throw the book, or I'm going to start yelling at my sibling. And you're starting to think, either my child wants my attention, or they're trying to escape this because this is really demanding and hard for them, and I know that about my kid. So you come up with, what's the function here? Okay, maybe my kid's trying to escape this. Every time we read these really hard books, I'm noticing this behavior's happening. So how can I turn this behavior off? What appropriate thing can I teach my kid to do instead? I can tell them, like I can show them, this is how you use your words. You can say, Mom, this is hard, I want a break. Mom, can you read for a second? This is too hard for me. So start thinking of the appropriate alternative that you want to teach them. And then you start, okay, I have a lot of jargon. Then we start errorless learning. So, okay, books start getting bent. Mom, this is stupid, I don't want to read. An errorless learning looks like you come in and you tell them exactly what to say. Oh, hey, buddy, you can say, I don't want to read this, it's too hard. Oh, buddy, you can say, Mom, can you help me? This is hard for me. Buddy, you can say, I need a break, I'm overwhelmed. So you come in and you teach them exactly what you want to say instead. You don't say, don't bend the corner of your book. You don't say, we're gonna read for 20 more minutes because we have to. You don't give any attention to the negative behavior. You tell them what to do instead. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the second they do that, again, praise, woohoo, you did it, right? Good job telling me that was really hard for you. You need a break. Let's take a break. Let's be done reading. But Margaret, you're giving them what they want. Yes, we are. We are reinforcing it because we want them to use the appropriate strategy, right? Now, if your kid, every time something's hard, is like, I need a break, you can start fading out reinforcement. You can say, you know what, we had a break last time, this time I want you to finish it, but you can have a break next time, right? You just spread out the time that they get breaks. Does that make sense? Do you want another example? Do you guys have an example for me to play with? Like, what's a behavior you're seeing at home where you're like, I can't stand this, I need a replacement? I know you've got them. Terry's laughing. Terry's got them. Okay, Joe.
Jaden the other day, he didn't want to read. He doesn't want to read. I want my Nintendo.
Oh.
And I got tired of hearing this because they haven't had Nintendo since school started.
Oh, yeah. You took it all the way, too, huh? So did I.
Yep, it's locked up in the file
Yep.
cabinet.
Yep.
I went ahead and I just called his IEP teacher. And I said,
Wow. You went all in. That's impressive.
I said, is he supposed to be reading?
Was this a real phone call or you pretended?
No, I
Oh,
called.
Terry, you went all in. All right.
I called both the boys' teachers.
Yeah,
And Jeffrey called me the other day and he says, I'm mad at you.
because you called his teacher. Yeah.
But I know it's for my own good.
Yep. So he knows. He knows.
But Jason,
So do you think the reading part, like, what would you think the function is? Do you think it's too hard? Do you think,
he just didn't want to do it.
okay, so he doesn't want to do it, so he wants to escape the demand, right? So then you start thinking of ways, if the behavior is so interfering that you don't want to deal with it anymore, right? Because there are times where it's like they're just gently refusing and you're going, that's okay, whatever, just gently refuse. Sure, you can voice your concerns. You don't like this, that's fine. If it's a really maladaptive behavior that you want changed, you have to think about the replacement you want instead, right? Hey, when you want to be done reading, you can just say, Mom, I'm done reading. Or can I do one more minute and then be done? Right? Give a replacement that's appropriate. But if the behavior is like just annoying, you can ignore that too. I think that's great. He just refuses.
So, I read at school and I don't need to read. I know how to read.
It's like, I've worked 8 hours today, Mom.
A little bit, you wouldn't be in special help to
Right.
So the teacher gave him 2 books, and he came home with them. And when he read them, then I texted back, yeah, they're done.
We're done. We're good to go.
So then she said, okay, I'll get them.
Thumbs up.
And
Yep.
said, 2 more.
There you go. You hacked it. Joe, you had your hand up. I know the kids are kind of itching here, but that's all right. They can wait. Joe, give me a good behavior.
All right. We kind of have our assigned seats at the dinner table.
Okay.
Carson will go sit in Alex
Oh, yeah.
just to get
Him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
younger brother's got to get one on
Yeah. Yes. And that one's hard because you can't control the sibling's reaction, right? Sibling is going to give attention every time. Every time. And the younger siblings know that. They know that the older sibling can't help themselves, right? They just have to pry. One thing we do is I will talk to the other sibling and go, hey, when you don't react, guess what? You have so much more power. They're not going to do it anymore. So turn on your ignoring muscles and just ignore it. And I promise it'll go away in like 2-3 days because he's not going to get a reaction out of you and then it's not fun. And so sometimes you have to work with the sibling too. You have to kind of hack the system from the inside. Any other? See if I have anything else.
Add,
Yes.
As they get older, teaching them how to do these things to their siblings to redirect the behavior
Yeah.
is also helpful because
Yeah.
they still, this is my youngest of the oldest.
Yeah.
They learn how to,
Mm-hmm.
pick each other.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, because they want attention.
Yes.
They love their siblings.
Yes.
They want that
Yes.
as they're getting older in that space.
Yes.
You teach them these exact same strategies that they can use
Mm-hmm.
with their siblings.
Exactly. And I think if I would say, for a typically developing child, so not someone who has ADHD or autism or things like that, for a typically developing child, most behaviors are attention seeking. Most of them are. So what are some appropriate ways they can get your attention? So the last thing I'll say is like, especially if you have little kids and they're interrupting and then they start up in the ante because you're still not paying attention to them and they're throwing things or they're knocking things over, they're pestering their siblings, come up with an easy solution for them to get your attention and still have to wait. So at our house, if I'm talking to Joe and all three of them need something, the expectation is that they come and hold my hand and wait patiently. And then I know and they know that we're gonna talk soon, but they don't get to interrupt me. That was something I did in preschool, and sometimes we'd have like a line of 15 kids holding hands, just like standing there being like, she's gonna get to me. I know she's gonna get to me. So if you need a simple solution like that, that's something that's helpful. Okay, I know we're over time. Sorry, I get excited. I had more, but that's where we'll stop. Whoever asked my ADHD question, I'd love to talk to you about the ADHD question. But someone asked if it's more prevalent now than it ever was before. I think it's similar to autism. We're really good at diagnosing it now. We're much more aware of what's going on with ADHD, and so we are able to get help for kids with ADHD. Rates are pretty steady over the last 20 years. We like to diagnose it now and get those kids help, which is good. Questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? There's a lot of jargon, but I'm happy to talk more about it if you want at some other date. Maybe at my house with wine. I'm happy to do that. The parenting reminders have our practice, our proactive strategies, our reactive strategies, and our CDI stuff on there. So take those with you and come get a cookie before you go. But thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.